right now. So, like, do we start the
Ready?
count now? Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Three,
Two,
two,
one,
one,
sync.
sync.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right. How do I begin this? All right. See, it's funny because now I feel awkward.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you ever have that where like you have something perfectly articulated and then as soon as you start recording, you're like, fuck.
I used to all the
What
time.
fuck like it just goes out of your head.
Yes,
I think
that has
yeah,
happened.
I think that's like I think it's just because you're thinking about it.
Hmm.
Like when beforehand it's just kind of coming free form because it's just you in your head, and then as soon as you begin, as soon as it's like, okay, now do that with intent, it's like, fuck,
People are watching.
yeah,
Do something funny.
it's like the meme of the crow looking down
Yes.
at his card. Okay. Hi, welcome to episode. Fuck. I was literally just looking at episode 24 of the Cellarcast. I was literally just looking at the last one because I mentioned that I think I said earlier that I didn't have any plan going into this one, but I did want to have a quick comment review at the start. If that's all right with you.
Yeah, go
We
for
can maybe
it.
do some input. Oh, by the way, this is I have
MamaMax.
I have no policy for introducing guests. So this is
I mean, I'm in the title. That should be. Well, am I in the title or no?
I don't know yet. Depends on
Oh,
what
okay.
happens.
Okay,
The
well,
only other
if
time I had a guest is when my girlfriend was on. And I just called it something else that we ended up talking about.
okay, I just assumed I'd be in the title because it would help you with views.
Yeah, I probably
So
will because I'm a
the title will introduce me
yeah,
if it does.
agreed,
If
you
you do
little
go with that.
Viewmeister. This is Mother Maximus. So uh we had a comment last episode from Lozy as usual, and he wrote a big ass comment. It was like,
All
so
right.
basically he wrote, I'm not going to read through the whole thing because what he did was he beat all the both of the Mega Man collections, and he put
Oh,
together a
nice.
tier list of all the NES games. And
Okay.
so I will give him props because he put Mega Man 6 in S tier, which is a based opinion. Uh, then at the end is where his question comes in. So he kind of ends up talking about Mega Man's like 7 through 10. And he says, could you talk more about those four? Because I usually just end up talking about the earlier ones. If I talk about,
Oh, okay.
because he's having trouble forming opinions about the later games because they are like they do
Crash.
diverge a bit, right?
I don't know. I haven't played 7 through 10. I've only played the first one, and then I played 15 years later.
15?
I think so.
There's only
Let me-
11. There's only 11. What are you talking about?
It had all I know is I had 2 Roman numerals, so I assumed that meant it was in the double digits. but
2 Roman numerals?
It was 3D.
Oh,
It
11?
was on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 2.
3. Uh,
It's been so long since I've ever played Mega Man.
it had 2 Roman numerals. They kind of dropped Roman numerals after 7 because the problem was that 7 was the first one on the Super Nintendo, and that was also when they started doing Mega Man X. So if you're doing
Right.
it just looks like Mega Man 10.
Okay, so it might have been an X like 4, X5, X6.
3D. The 3D ones, there were no 3D like classic series games until 11, which was like 2017. So you're probably thinking about the X series. They went to 3D.
Yes.
The only 3D one is actually 7 or 8. So which are both on the PS2. So that's probably, I hope it was 8 for your sake. Seven.
I did not enjoy it. I didn't have a good time.
Might
So
have
it
been.
probably wasn't.
Did it have like a weird thing where it switched between 3D and 2D sometimes?
Yes.
That was
yes.
7. I'm so sorry. That's legitimate. Man, you pulled like the worst luck because like most Mega Man games are at the very least like solid. Except for X6 and 7, which are like horrible garbage.
Oh god. Yep, that's what I played. Shit.
Damn it.
As a kid, I think it's your fault that you're not enjoying the game, but
Yeah.
now years later,
And then you grew up, you're like, wait.
Yeah.
That was fucked up.
They actually made a trash game.
It's like realizing that you were like a victim of child abuse years later. You're like, wait.
That's so true. And that segues us into our next section.
Oh,
about
shit.
My channel and what I do.
Were we going to talk about that?
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay,
no.
okay.
Let's just talk about Mega Man.
Yeah. If you guys didn't know, Max's whole channel is actually based around abusing children. And then he does a little social experiment where he comes back years later and he says like, did you know that like that wasn't cool when I like didn't let you eat for like 2 days? They're like, what? And he captures it on camera.
Yes.
So I did not know your Mega Man knowledge, and I was kind of hoping. So here's the problem: I haven't played. I have played 7, but I have not played 8 through 10.
Okay.
And I haven't played Mega Man in base either, which is like Mega Man like 7.5 kind of, sort of. 7 is like, it's okay. I think it's fun. I haven't played it enough. I've literally only played through it like once. I'm really familiar with like the earlier half of the series. I know that pretty well. 7, I think, is like, they made that game in like 8 months. And it's like astounding for how like, it's astounding how good it is for for being made in less than a year. Like I
wish I could have played them. I
You
only
can.
ever played. I mean, I plan on it. I loved Mega Man as a kid, even though I only ever played the first one, and that was only when I was like 4 years old. So I have very vague memories. But the whole collection is on my Steam list.
Oh yeah, mine too.
list.
There was a big sale, and I didn't pick it up because I was like, I played like most of them. So like, I don't. Yeah, the classic series is. I grew up kind of with Mega Man, so it's like, it just like one of those things that's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy for me to just like pull out like rank them real fast, of at least of the ones that I've played, because I've played like most of the classic series and a good chunk of the other series, all the sub-series.
Okay.
So unfortunately, besides, I'm trying to think, like, I don't have that much. I remember the bosses in 7 are really easy, and it's kind of like, the reason was because they introduced this thing. I guess they thought it would be cool that like if you hit a boss with their weakness, they would get like stunned for a second. I think they were just really excited to have like 16-bit graphics to work with. But it just kind of means that you can just sort of stun lock the bosses. Just the entire fight. Like I remember Cloudman, he gets destroyed. Like he can't do anything. And the classic series already has kind of a problem with the bosses being a little too easy if you have their weaknesses, which some of the other like X doesn't suffer as bad from that, but in classic it's super like if you have it, you can just brute force the fight kind of. But 7 had a lot of like neat ideas. Like you can get the like Turbo Man, his weapon is like a flame wheel thing that you can like throw out. It's like a shield and you can throw it out. And then there's like a stage. Whose stage is it in a forest? I kind of forget. But you can like burn down the forest and it like reveals secrets. There's a bunch of like neat like little secrets and little touches and stuff.
Is Mega Man the bad guy?
No.
I mean, if he's burning down forests, I would
They
It
deserved
doesn't
it.
sound very cool. Oh, they deserve
They
it.
deserved it. They were
What's the Lost
hiding.
Forest, man?
They were
He was
hiding.
hiding in the forest.
They were hiding the the collectibles. And Mega Man is here to dispense democracy.
Genociding entire nations and entire peoples.
This
so
ecosystem
that
is
dispense democracy.
This ecosystem's going down.
I wonder if there is a message in the game about anything like that.
Mega Man has it depends on which one you're playing. Which series you're playing, because the classic series has like almost no messaging. It's so light on plot. It's like cartoonish. The X
Like
series,
Mario?
yeah, sort of. It's sort of, or like Sonic. It's like kind of the same thing every time. You're not really playing it for the story. The other series like X and Zero have more of like an attempt to have a plot, and Zero's legitimately like really good. Like it actually has a really good story and gameplay. It's also like super dark.
Damn.
The Zero series is hinged entirely on genocide. It's like a post-apocalypse 200 years in the future. It's crazy, but it's really good.
In terms of story, how good is it? Like 10 being like something like Half-Life or The Last of Us, and then 1 being like Super Mario Bros.
It's like I feel like non-existent is different than like bad.
Definitely.
Like I'm trying to think of like a game with a really bad plot. Maybe like I've been thinking about David Cage a lot recently.
David Cage?
Yeah.
Oh, is he the dude who makes the the QuickTime event games?
Yes. And I've been thinking about him recently because you know what his first game was called?
It wasn't Heavy Rain, right?
No, it wasn't. His first game was called Omicron.
Omicron?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, good. It's not good, and now because of the new COVID that just came out, the new COVID that just dropped, there's like conspiracy theories. There's like
just dropped the new COVID, bro.
Yeah, I got the battle pass.
Go on.
Level 5 of the battle pass gets you a free booster shot. There's like now conspiracy theories that like David Cage's Omicron from like on like the Dreamcast was like predictive programming prophesying the future that there was going to be a disease in like 20 years.
Does that mean he's gonna remake it?
God, I hope not.
Maybe he make a video about it. That sounds like such an interesting video. Like
I've wanted
the first David Cage game.
Fuck. Okay, I've wanted to make. Actually, I've had this like idea for a series or something, where I just like go through like David Cage's like gamography, because I think it's really interesting.
That is interesting.
And I wanted to call it like Rage in the Cage, or something like that. The problem is that I would have to play Omicron. So like, here's the thing, Omicron. So most of his games like Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, like Detroit, all those, they kind of just sort of like play themselves, right? Like that you just kind of play through them. You do some quick time events. You like walk around sometimes. Generally, like they're pretty breezy experiences from a gameplay perspective. Right. Omicron is like a fucking nightmare. It's like an adventure game, sort of, that has I feel like there was some, like the script was in French, and the translation's kind of shoddy. So like story's really confusing. It's really badly paced. There's like really specific, like a specific order of events that you have to do things in. And if you divulge from it, like the game doesn't tell you when you have to do things. You just have to kind of know. And if you divulge from it at all, it basically soft locks you. It's like consistently that. David Bowie's in it, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and he appears as like a hologram,
Oh
and
my
it looks
God.
like him.
That reminds me of your video you made about Christopher Walken. What was
Oh
that game called?
shit. The celebrity cameos.
Yeah.
I was doing research for that video, and for some reason Omicron didn't pop up. Probably because no one remembers it. Yeah, it's a pain. It's actually like theorized that it's partially what it contributed to the like super best friends breaking up.
Wow.
If you're I think I mentioned them to you before. They were they were on like machinima, like early machinima. They were like a group for like a while, and then in like 2018 they made a video that was like Matt and Pat are no longer friends. And you kind of like trace,
Yikes.
like you can just sort of see, because they make all these videos of like let's plays where they're interacting, and you can kind of see like there's probably a lot of you know, definitely factors behind the scenes. It wasn't entirely David Cage's Omicron, but they had this thing, like they would play every David Cage game because they're so funny to just riff on. And then they were like, let's do Omicron. It's like his first game, and it was like such a miserable slug. It's kind of hilarious, but
And you haven't made a video on this.
no, it's been like
Jesus, dude.
that thing
That's
in the
like-
background,
Yeah, that's
like looming in the background.
that's definitely that's got to be one in the future for
I feel
sure.
yeah, like
I
Dave,
want to see that.
I feel like David Cage is like the only notable like goofster in gaming that I haven't contributed a bit of a video about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've at least touched on most of them, and there's some that I want to make specific videos about that just require a lot of research. But I there was also that like crazy lawsuit that happened. Did you hear about that?
At David Cage?
At like his company, Quantic
No.
Dream. Yeah, apparently they were
No.
like a really unhealthy environment for like mainly women, and apparently there was
so like the Activision Blizzard shit?
yeah, sort of like that. I don't know
No
how
way.
a little. It wasn't. I don't think it was as bad, but it was just like toxic. And there was a ridiculous court case where like David Cage started crying in the court, and he
No
was like,
way.
"You are trying to deface my company."
Oh
And
my
like
God,
they
dude.
found all these like I think he like ran out of the courtroom crying, and they found like there were these statements from him where he said like, in my games all women are whores or something like that.
What?
It was something like that, and he's like, we don't allow like F slurs like at our company or something like that, like some fucking like
Oh
what
my
the hell
God.
type of stuff. And I think like I don't think he's the president of the company, but the guy, he's like his La Fontaine or something like that. He was like, they started like doing the trial, and there was a point where he said like, I'm not under oath, so I can like lie, right? Like he just said that to the court as like a witness or something.
Oh my God.
It was a mess.
Yikes.
I need to like,
That's-
yeah, it's the era of amazing gaming lawsuits.
No. Yeah, man, that deserves a video. Like
It-
that sounds so interesting.
It does. I don't know. And then they like sued because the reason it came out was because there was like a couple French publications that released these like accounts by people, and they like sued the publications for like slander, and they lost like 3 of the lawsuits.
Well, good. I mean,
Yeah. The only one I think that they didn't lose was there was one that like they wouldn't give up their sources or something. So they were like, we can't we're not gonna say who at the company gave us this info. And the court was like, okay, well then we can't like I guess
absolve you.
yeah, whatever. They might have settled. I don't know how French court works. I
Okay.
assume it's like British Parliament, where everyone just screams at each other.
Is it?
That's how I picture European like government.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So
anyways, about
yeah.
Mega Man.
Mega Man. I don't know. Have we said our piece on Mega Man? I could talk about Mega Man for a while.
I wish I could say more. I haven't played. The last Mega Man I played was X7, and that was when I was 10 years old, I think.
Yeah.
So
rough.
there's not a lot I could say about Mega Man. I think he's fucking cool, and I looked up to him as a kid, and like, I would like makeshift, like the handgun he has. What do you call it?
It's called the Mega Buster.
The Mega Buster. Yeah. Love that shit. Was there an anime of Mega Man?
No. There's been a couple, like... Mega Man 8 had, like, anime cutscenes.
Right.
For a few points. And they remade the first X game for the PSP. And I think that came with, like, a 15-minute OVA. It's like the prelude to the first game. That's actually like pretty good.
Very interesting.
And then there was the cartoon in like the 90s.
Wait, what? No way.
You've never seen the Mega Man 90s cartoon?
I might have seen it. That
the
might
Ruby
have been what I was
Spears,
asking about.
yeah, the Ruby Spears Mega Man cartoon is. I've seen. I don't know. I don't even remember how much of it I've seen.
Holy shit!
It's kind of charming. It's not like great. It's charming in a way that it's like, okay, they're trying to make this like very like Mega Man was originally going to be like Astro Boy. It was going to be an Astro Boy game, and then they lost the license, and they just kind of took concepts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just kind of took concepts from it and repurposed it into like a mascot character.
It definitely gives me Astro Boy vibes.
Yeah. And then he so it's this very like anime manga, like very Japanese series. Or it has that kind of like it's not like, I wouldn't call it super anime, but it's it has like, it feels like it comes from that kind of background. Right. And then it's like there's this studio and they're trying to like adapt it to make it palatable for a Western audience that like doesn't, you know, they don't know the difference between like China and Japan like culture. Do you know that? Like
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, fucking it's like the same thing.
Jesus.
It doesn't help that Japan just like ripped a bunch of Chinese culture during like a period of time. So they like they ripped an entire alphabet from them.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? Doesn't your girlfriend speak Japanese?
Japanese, yes.
She's never told you that like one of the Japanese alphabets is literally just the Chinese alphabet, but with different, just pronounced differently.
No, she never told me that.
There's three alphabets. The simpler looking ones are the kana alphabets, and they're all just like syllabic, and then the usually like more complicated looking symbols are called kanji, and they're just taken. I think kanji literally means like foreign words. Kan is like foreign. What? If I'm remembering correctly, or like it's literally just the Chinese alphabet, because they were like, yo, China's sick. That's where they got tea ceremonies from.
I guess it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint.
Yeah, and then like every kanji has like Japanese and Chinese pronunciations. Mm-hmm. And that they have like different meanings depending on it. Usually, not all of them have different ones, but it's weird. It's a very complicated language.
Oh, I get it. It's like the relation between like English and Spanish, right? Like there's some
sort. Yeah. I think I don't know enough Chinese to say for sure, but yeah, I'd imagine.
Gotcha. I get it.
Did you ever like take a language?
I took Spanish.
You took did you... Your mom is, Hispanic. I couldn't remember the country. Down there.
She's down there somewhere.
Did you guys
down there somewhere?
Yeah. Did you guys speak Spanish in the house at all?
We tried to, but then, um, so my family is the only family that doesn't speak, as in the children of my parents don't speak both languages, English and Spanish, but all of my
Uh-huh.
relatives both speak English and Spanish.
Oh, even on your dad's
And
side?
well, my dad is just white, so no one speaks Spanish.
Okay, okay, sure.
But yeah, everyone on my mom's side speaks both English and Spanish.
Hmm.
But we don't,
Do they?
and
Yeah,
I don't. I think it might have been because my dad's white, and all of my cousins, both their parents were Hispanic.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Did you? Because my mom is German, and she tried to like teach me German when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and it didn't work because
Oh.
like she tried to speak German in the household when I was like a baby, and like as I was learning to speak, and I would just respond to her in English. And I have no idea. It doesn't sound real, but she's told me this story about how like eventually she gave up when she like tried to speak to me in German, and I as like a 2 year old or 3 year old was like, talk to me in my language. That's what she said. I don't know if I actually said that, but that was when she was like, I think I gotta throw in the towel.
Oh my
I
god.
was like, look, if you don't like it, get out. Mom. So I've just never learned German. It's one of those things that like she and her mom are always on my case about like, well, why don't you take German?
Were you raised in the United States?
Yeah, I was born here. I've lived here my whole life.
It might have something to do with that. Like they don't know. Like when we are learning the language, we hear them speaking, and maybe she wasn't always speaking German to your dad, right?
My dad doesn't know German, so
Right. So they were probably
yeah,
speaking English,
English together and
and that's the majority of the time. So I guess that's where we both learned it from is during those downtimes where they're not intentionally trying to teach us.
yeah, it's not
And
just
then,
it's not like immersion.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, part of the reason that like I don't want to learn German is I was like, because my high school offered German and I didn't take it, and part of the reason was I was like, if I take it, they're gonna want to try and talk to me in German, and it's not gonna be good because I'm not gonna be that interested in it, so I'm not gonna try to learn it that hard. And then
Oh.
every time they try to talk to me, I'm gonna feel like stupid or I'm gonna feel like insecure, like they're pressuring me, like I have this like cultural thing to live up to.
But why does it matter if you're calloused?
It was more just annoying. It's more just like annoying.
Gotcha.
Like I don't feel like putting up with it.
I
I
think
would have
that's why
been.
I didn't learn Spanish, because
Yeah.
they would get upset at me when my Spanish wasn't up to snuff.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, all right, fuck this, fuck all y'all.
Yeah. Now it becomes like you're doing it for them. Like a
Yeah.
language is a really hard thing to learn. Like any language, really. But it's like if you want to
Definitely.
do it, that's why I think I didn't really take too many languages until I started like trying to teach myself Japanese.
Hmm.
Because it's like, oh, I literally like interact with Japanese stuff like every day. So it's like I actually feel like enthusiastic about learning it as opposed to like
Yeah.
if I'm learning German, it's just to appease my mom's side of the family,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't even feel like they they can. Did you okay? I'm curious. So when you had like your other like relatives from your mom's side over, would they just
Mm.
like speak in Spanish with you in the room and like have whole conversations?
Not with me. They would speak. So they have conversations with each other in
Yeah.
Spanish, but to us,
Yeah.
they would speak in English.
Okay. Because that's what my mom and her mom would do is they would carry a whole conversation in German,
Hmm.
and sometimes I could hear them say my name. I'm like, I
But
can
you don't know
hear
what they're saying.
Taigen is definitely not a German word. I can definitely like hear. Actually, now that I think about it, wait, hang on a second. There's actually like a brand of like RC tanks called Taigen. I don't know.
that's what they were talking about.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they were really into remote controlled miniature tanks. That's like I know you're talking about me. You're just like
that's happened to me. I know that.
Oh
feeling
yeah,
so bad.
yeah.
Man.
And they just say it like openly, like you're not there, because they think that like you can't understand your own name.
Well, they know. Well, they know you don't understand what they're saying.
They're saying, but as soon as you hear, because I feel like, do you have this where like if you hear something even like something like start with like ma or like max, that you're just like your brain just like immediately like goes on alert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have that. I don't know. I always figured because like not many words start with like
Taigen?
Tai or something like that. So as soon as I hear like something, so I used to. It's less because I knew some people named like Tyler and stuff. But definitely when I was growing up and there was no one who had like a similar sounding name. As soon as you hear that, I'm like, who? What? Who's talking to me? So like, yeah, it's like I know. I can pick it up. It's weird.
I get that all the time, especially when people say the word maximum.
Oh yeah.
Or any word that starts with max.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my brain lights up like, ooh, what? What's up?
Do you have like a weird? Why is your name Max?
Why is it Max?
Yeah. Why? Where does that come from?
Have you read the book Where the Wild Things Live? Or
Oh yeah, really?
yeah, so I was named Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah, where the wild things are.
Yeah, I was named after that character.
Oh no way! That's so cool.
I don't know why I was named after that character though.
Did your parents just really like the book?
My dad did. I don't know if my mom ever read it. I love my name though.
Yeah, it's a nice name. Is it Maximus or Maximilian?
Just Max.
It's just Max.
It's just Max.
It's just Max. Oh wow. Okay.
Yes. Just
That's actually
Max, not short for anything.
That's funny actually. So it's like literally like the max. Actually, when we say like max something, like we say like maximum.
Mm-hmm.
Is max it by itself like talking about like, you know, the most? Is that its own word? Or is it always just a shortening of maximum?
It's a pre something. I forgot the word. The small part of the word that goes before the rest of the word.
A prefix?
A prefix. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a prefix.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like your name is the most.
Yeah, the largest possible quantity.
The largest. Do you think that accurately describes you?
Well, I like this little snippet. I'll send it to you. I don't want to read it out loud because it's kind of self-centered.
Max, which means the greatest, and the greatest is in bold.
If you type, I found that just typing prefix of Max, and that came up in Google. I was like, that made me feel good.
That's fine. Taigen, I think, means the ultimate source.
Oh, that's so fucking dope.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So we both got badass names.
Yeah, cool. I feel weird now because I feel like if I had a kid, because my parents have pretty normal names, like from their culture. My dad's name is like Bernardo, and my mom is like Christiana. And then I'm named Taigen, and my brother's named Eben. Eben, not Evan. And Eben is like it means Hebrew for like stone.
Stone.
Yeah. And okay, so here's my fucking. I told you like my mom's a big hippie. Like, so my name is Taigen Moon, right?
Right.
My brother's middle name. Do you want to guess what it is?
Sun.
No, it's
Mercury.
Lake.
Lake.
Because the moon shines into the lake. Yeah.
Wait, is your little brother or older brother?
My younger brother.
That's so fucking funny.
he's my one sibling. And
does he look up to you?
No.
Like you're shining down on
Not
him?
at all. He used to. Here's a fun. I'm gonna expose my brother. So we went to like the same high school, right? And he's like about a year younger than me. And
Okay.
so he was in the grade below me. So when I was a sophomore, he was a freshman, and he's always been into soccer. So he was on the soccer team, and he ended up interacting with some guys from my class, who obviously knew me. And when they look at like the names and stuff, our last name is Irigoyen, which is like pretty distinct.
Right.
And so they would be like, "Oh, are you Taigen's brother or something?" And he'd go, "No, that's my cousin." And then I found out because they would come up to me. They'd be like, "Hey, yeah, I met your cousin he's on like the freshman team." And I'm like, "I don't have a cousin like who lives here. All my cousins are in like Europe." And they're like, "Oh, like Eben?" And I'm like, "That's my brother." And they're like, "Oh, he told us." You were cousins.
Like you?
You were just embarrassed by me for a while.
Oh.
We're good now, but there was like a while where he was like, "Oh, my brother's a fucking weirdo. don't associate me with him."
Well, I would never treat you like that, and I consider you my brother now.
Wow. Do we have to do like a ritual?
If you want to.
I don't know. Like, is this what makes us brothers? What makes someone your brother? Besides genetics.
You played video games with me.
That's real. Damn, I got a lot of siblings. I don't know if I want a lot of siblings who hate my guts.
Oh,
Call me racial slurs over the internet.
What? No way. Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the fucking. So I feel like now I have this like pressure. Like if I have kids, like I have to give them like I can't just name them like Mark.
What's wrong with Mark?
I realized that's the first name that popped. I realized that you fucking talked. For anyone listening, Max introduced me to his friend Mark the other day, and
Mark
we chatted. We chatted for Mark is the one who who introduced him to my videos.
Yeah.
And so that's just the name that came into my head. I was gonna say like John, and then the last moment
That's
Mark
so
popped
funny.
into my head. And I was like, some stupid fucking cringe ass name like Mark. Like fucking
I fucking love Mark.
Write me a gospel, dude.
I know he's listening.
Fucking yeah, I was like, I feel like, can I really name like my kid like
I could name my kid Mark.
Like Dave? No,
I get what you're saying though.
No shame to like Dave's. It's just like I feel like there's like a like how do you just go from like Taigen Moon to like Dave, no middle name?
I get that same feeling because since my name has an X in it, I want all my kids' names to have an X in it because it's so. I guess it's unique.
Yeah.
So.
How many X names are there?
I don't know. All I could think of is like Xavier.
Yeah.
Which is a badass name.
Yeah,
There's Alex. That's not as like unique.
Yeah, I got a friend named Xavier. Shout out Big X if you're listening.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna watch Jojo. Sometime
nice.
soon. Yeah, I think I got him into Jojo inadvertently because I just wouldn't shut the fuck up about it.
No one does who watches Jojo.
I know.
And I've never seen it, but everyone around me who has seen it never lets me stop knowing about it.
It is good. And I know that doesn't help. I'm sure it's like not everyone's cup of tea, but he's like really into like my friend Xavier. He's really into like classic rock and stuff. And so that was like a really easy way for him to like latch on, I think. It was like, oh cool, like he collects vinyl and stuff.
What is the premise even?
So JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is basically, so the idea is that it's this long story that's divided into parts, and the idea is that every part has a different protagonist and a different main cast, and it's basically a different story. with the one through line being that every protagonist is part of the same bloodline. Okay. And the reason it's called JoJo's is that all of their names have 2 Joe sounds in them. So they get the nickname Jojo at some point. So, like, part 1 is, like, Jonathan Joestar. And then part 2 is, like, his grandson, Joseph Joestar. And it kind of, it goes, and there's this whole, like, turns into, like, a whole family tree and all that.
Wow.
But, the basic premise is that it's just, like, kind of like an adventure story. Every part has kind of a different feel and appeal, and it's sort of like different vibes and stuff. And so the author is like, he basically has like way too many ideas, and he wanted to basically just like a structure that would allow him to do whatever he wanted and justify it as just being part of the same story.
Wow.
So he's like, okay, part 4 or like part 3 is like, we're going on like a world trip to get to this location to fight the bad guy. And part 4 is like, we're just gonna chill out in this like little Japanese coastal town, and we have to like find a serial killer. And then part 5 is like, it's a fucking gangster story, and we gotta like,
hold on.
Huh? Yeah.
Before we started this podcast, a few days ago, you told me you didn't watch anything, and now you're telling me
the only thing I watched is JoJo.
That's the only thing you've ever
literally
watched.
Not ever, okay? I just gradually lost interest in other things that were not JoJo's or like that.
Oh my god, that makes me want to watch JoJo less now.
Why?
I don't know. I will watch it after everyone shuts the fuck up about it.
That's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen.
Y'all are the ones keeping everyone from watching JoJo.
Do you have that kind of like spiteful gene in you? Like, you just refuse to do anything that other people are doing?
I don't know. For some things, I don't. Like, everyone told me to play Among Us, so I did, and it was mediocre.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just depends. I feel like with anime, I'm super picky, and I feel like I would enjoy JoJo.
Yeah, that's my fucking problem. I'm the same way, but like with everything in my life, I've been so like, I'm not listening. There's like throw a dart at anything that's been like trendy in the last my entire life, and I haven't engaged with it. Usually specifically because I don't know, maybe it's like I just go, doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I watched JoJo is because my friend was really into it. And for some reason I gave it a try, and I was like, I really like this.
Okay, so I want to ask, were you the one to initiate it, or did he
No, he was like me, and he just wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. And then I was like, might as well see what's going on. Then I ended up...
So you were the one...
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like the thing with me is someone has to put it on for me before I'll get into it.
Yeah. I'm not like... I don't put myself in situations where people can't put things on for me. Like, it just doesn't happen. I have my whole life I've been like, I'm not... I guess just out of spite. I think I get it from my dad. Mm-hmm. My dad is like an obsessive contrarian.
Oh,
like I've had like...
That'll do it.
Yeah, I've had like fucking conversation like about literally everything. I remember we were like we had to like fly from one place to another. We were taking a trip, and he was like really tired, and we were just waiting for like the taxi to get there at the airport, departures, and we're just standing there, and he's like really tired. I think he had to go see my mom in court the next day.
Oh, okay.
Over like, it was just like so many years you have to do like a renegotiation of like custody or whatever. It's like a standard thing. He just didn't want to fucking go to court. And we were just standing there, and he was just grumpy about everything. And there's like 3 Hondas in a row parked on like the curb. And he goes, I'm never buying a fucking Honda. Ever. People buy that fucking sheep.
Oh my
He literally
God,
said
what?
that. I was like, Dad, you're just being fucking.
Just because there were 3?
There were 3 in a row, and
park?
he's like, "These fucking sheep." They just pawned us.
Oh my God.
I'm like, Dad, what are you? Are you gonna buy like the underground car brand? Yeah, I that's where I get it from. And where was I even? I feel like I was going somewhere with this, but
Okay.
yeah, that's how I right, watching things and not watching things. So that's actually my
Right.
problem now, is that like the new season is only, it's exclusive to Netflix. And I'm like, I don't want to like pay like for Netflix for like a few months just to watch one show.
You don't torrent?
I will. That's
Okay,
my
good.
solution.
Yeah, fuck Netflix.
That's my. That's my. Are you a big Netflix hater?
I am. Ever since they made Cuties, I was like,
Oh, it's the most on-brand thing. They didn't make it. They just distributed it. They unleashed it from France.
that's
They let it spread like
just as bad.
like a plague of rats.
like why? What were they fucking thinking when they did that? We don't have to talk about that, but I was just like, God, fuck Netflix.
Okay, I had completely forgotten about that. I wasn't even thinking, but yeah, I don't have any input. I was like, oof. All right, that's cool. I'm gonna be over here.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing Doom 64 when that came out. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on Doom 64.
Yeah, I was too busy making another video.
Yeah, about
So-
cuties or
Not about Cuties, but I don't know if I'd ever make a video about that because it doesn't.
yeah,
Everyone
it's-
already knows about it.
Yeah.
Everyone already knows what's wrong with it. I would rather cover something that no one really knows is a breeding ground for you know what.
Yeah. The
I don't want to say it because I want to get
I'm-
you demonetized.
I'm not fucking monetized. You think I'm monetized?
Oh, okay.
Just say it. Just say child molesters.
Child
Just
molesters,
say
pedophiles,
diddlers.
diddlers, silly goobers. Is what we
There's-
call them.
Sometimes you just I fucking hate that in your video you use that, because I fucking love the term silly goober. And as soon as I heard it, the first thing that came into my mind was like, sometimes you just wake up like a silly goober. And I realized like in my head that's so perfect, but in context it's like, fuck, I don't want to like wake up like feeling like a pedophile.
Yeah.
That's not how I want to. I don't want to. But I just love the word goober. I love alternate.
It's a funny word. That's why I used it.
Yeah, I love like I try to kind of limit swearing sometimes, because I feel like it forces me to be more creative.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And I apologize that I've been using my French profusely.
No, it's
throughout
okay.
This podcast.
They just
But I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
we should strive to use better words
yeah, like
and expand our vocabulary.
yeah, I got really into like I would just call people. I was thinking, I'm like, there's no way, like, you can be as mad as you possible at someone, but there's like no way they could be offended if you call them like a Dumbo dingus. There's no, like, you can't. There's no way.
Oh yeah.
It like would just. I used to do that when I was I came back to League for a short while, and League has this way of like tilting me like nothing else. And like I would try to diffuse it, like I really wanted to just talk shit to someone on my team. I just had the urge, the fire in my veins, and I would just force myself to like, okay, I'm gonna type, but I'm just gonna be like, dude, you're a fucking fish. And that like got it out for me. I was like, this is a fish game. And then like no one would respond, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, the anger's been diffused.
Oh god, that's like the exact opposite of me. I should have learned from you. I would like type to people I was gonna find them and kill them
Oh
in
my
real life.
god.
Like the
Really?
game is over. Me, as a real person, is going to find you. I have your IP address. You're dead.
That reminds me of well, hang on. Actually, I'm curious. Are you like someone who gets really toxic in games?
If it's League, then absolutely.
If it's League, because I'm the same way.
Just if it's League,
I
pretty much.
find that like if I'm playing like a fighting game, it's way better for my mental health. Because at least like me, I can like be like, oh, I can admit like, okay, if it's just my fault that I lost, I don't have a problem with it. Like I can take that. But if it's like someone else, it's like infuriating.
Oh,
It's
yes.
the most infuriating thing ever. So like I'll get a little like, I'm just losing, fuck it, whatever, and I'll just close out if I'm playing a fighting game. But if it's League, I would just be like, why are you doing this? There's like a back when Donkey used to be like the League YouTuber.
You're right.
Yeah.
I remember.
Did you do you remember his did you watch his videos back then?
I did.
Do you remember his like it was one of his like escape from like hell or videos where he says like he has this quote that's like his team took like a bad fight and then they successfully disengaged and he was like, okay, now let's just like recover and like regroup, and then they just like start running back in, and then he just says like, my team is Hitler on 4 computers, I'm on 1. That's just what comes to mind. That's what it feels like. I have the theory about like, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast, but like when you're online on the internet in general, I think, and someone like pisses you off, I think it has the same effect as like road rage.
Really?
Yeah, because like road rage, the whole deal is that like someone cuts you off or does something like bad driving or that annoys you, and you know if you're especially if you're driving, could like potentially be dangerous, and you get really mad, right? And because you in that moment when you're mad, you don't see them as like a person. They're just a car.
Oh yeah.
They're just a
definitely.
silhouette. And
They're a piece of shit.
yeah, and it's way easier. Like if you can look someone in the eye or you can like hear their voice, it's much easier to like humanize someone and like get like maybe not like forgive them or something, but be less mad because you can just relate to them more. But when they're just like an entity in a car, they're like a shadow person.
Yes.
And it's like when soldiers in wars would like psych themselves up that like their enemies were like literal demons, and that would like help them make it easier for them to like kill them. I think the same like psychological thing goes on when someone's just like just like a username.
Yeah.
Like you're not a real person. You're just like this thing that has been put into my life to make it more difficult and to make me not have fun for the next however like 40 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, you just so it's much easier to just hurl baseless anger, which is what makes like Xbox Live so terrifying, because people could hear your voice and they would still talk shit.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if people would get like super angry mad, but it's like, okay, these guys are real at least. And that kind of goes back.
Sick.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh no problem. I'll hang out.
All right, I'll be back.
All right. Do you want to pause your recording? Because I can pause mine. We can like resync.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just pause right now. All right, I stopped pausing. So if we could do the countdown.
Count it.
All right, 3, 2,
2, 1, sync.
Okay, synced up. It sounded synced on my end. So, all right, what were we talking about?
We were talking about
like rage, like road rage.
Yes, yes, road rage and how it ties to video
Gaming,
games and people are just usernames.
Yeah. Do you play like most Do you play a lot of like competitive games
I
or
guess so. I mean, I'll switch. Like sometimes I'll do like chill games or single player games, but right now I've been playing Halo Infinite, and that I do
oh,
get pretty competitive in that.
how is that, by the way?
Ah, there's so much good with it, but there's also just some annoyances I have with it.
What? What's the annoying
Uh,
bits?
Mostly it's like there's less customization when it comes to both like your character and like the types of matches you can do because they
Uh,
haven't released Forge yet.
oh, okay.
But I'm hoping it's looking very good. It's a very promising future for the game.
Okay, because I, pardon me, I I have like some friends who are into Halo, and they hate the 343 games.
Yeah, I was never a fan of the 343 games, but I think Infinite might do it.
At least in terms of like multiplayer.
So far, yes.
Yeah. When's
We'll see
the
about the campaign.
yeah? When's the campaign even coming out?
The 7th, I think, in 2 days.
Oh, seriously? Wow. Huh. I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah, when's this podcast going up?
Probably tomorrow. So
Oh,
on
okay.
Monday. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I always record on Sundays so I can get, the latest, hottest scoops.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh. But there wasn't really any like news I really cared to talk about this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it kind of worked well cuz I was like, okay, we could just talk about, I don't know, like
Mega Man.
Mega Man. Yeah, I could legitimately when my family moved from Illinois to California, my both my parents, like we all as a family agreed that we would go together. So my
Mhm.
mom moved separately, and then my dad, my brother, and I, we did like a road trip from Illinois to California, and we hit a
Mhm.
bunch of landmarks and stuff. And there were days where I literally just there was nothing, and but like nothing but driving through like Nebraska, and I would just sit and think about Mega Man for like legitimately like 7 hours.
Oh,
I like
wow.
you start like noticing all these like weird things. You're like, there's a lot of death imagery in Mega Man 4. Ever,
That's so funny.
it's like I'm like there's like Skull Man and like Pharaoh Man, and there's like Dust Man who's like his whole stage is in like a junkyard. That's like a robot graveyard. Huh. That's interesting. Is this intentional?
Are
You just
there
start
any
like
videos
thinking.
about this?
Sorry.
That sounds intentional. I was asking if there's any videos about like
Maybe.
the deeper meaning of Mega Man.
There's the deeper meaning. I feel there's honestly like not a whole ton. There's a few like videos like review it of people who like who was it? Oh, I think his name is Jay's Reviews. I think he has reviewed like I feel like most of the Mega Man games at this point, and he did he went through like the Zero games, and I remember him talking about like the story and kind of going through it. I don't know how much like analysis there really is. It's like kind of a weird thing because like the best one of my like favorite Mega Man things was the Archie comic. There was like when did it run? In like the early 2010s, I want to say. There was like an official Mega Man comic by like Archie, who also did like the Sonic comic. And the Mega Man Archie comic is like really good. Like it's surprisingly mature, but it still feels like it's kind of like made for like a younger audience.
How long is it?
I think they got to like 50 issues before it got basically canceled. Yeah,
Ah,
it was a shame because it was they were like really good. Like it seemed like they really understood like what's the interesting parts of the world to kind of expand on, and then also that like what's the best way to adapt the game, because Mega Man gets very repetitive, especially like the classic series, because it's like
imagine.
it's basically like oh, Wily's back with a slightly different thing going on this time.
Aren't
And if
the
you
first
just
few games all the same
uh,
engine?
the yeah, I don't know how. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if like engine is technically even like the right term
Term?
for like games of that
Right.
era.
Yeah.
But they're all like the same, a similar, I don't know, code base.
Right.
Like they're very like all the NES games pretty similar. Like in terms of like feel and even like the way that they render graphics and stuff. Which is more about the NES than that game, than the games in particular. But 7 and 8 were like different consoles, and then 9 and 10 were on the Wii, but they were like retro throwbacks. And then 11, I don't know what 11 was made on. I feel like most of they generally like they're pretty. Mega Man is all about like they find a formula and then they just hammer it over and over. And it's like even like playing it, if you just play them all back to back, you can get really fatigued. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
more about like the subtle little differences that you kind of like makes you distinguish one from the other in terms of like how you feel about it.
Hmm.
So the but like in terms of plot, it's like basically the same thing every time. And so they were like, okay, we're gonna like they got through 50 issues and they were barely starting like getting into Mega Man 3. Like
Oh,
it
wow.
was they did a lot of like adapting some of the side games. There's a game called Super Adventure Rockman, which like never came out outside of Japan, and it's like one of those like FMV, like it's like Dragon's Lair,
Hmm.
where you like click on like things to like, oh, you got to jump over the thing, that type of
Did you
thing.
play it?
Have I played it?
Yeah.
No. What? I don't even know what. It's on like the Saturn or something,
Oh, wow.
because it's like it was like an early disc based game, and that game's super. It's actually so obscure. The only I have like the Mega Man like 25th anniversary thing, and they have like one page devoted to it, and the only quote given is like one of like I think it's like Keiji Inafune apologizing. It's
Really?
really because I guess it gets like really dark. I can sort of tell because like after they did like Mega Man 2, they kind of did some like not filler stuff, but like stuff that divulged from the games, like some kind
Hmm.
of other like storylines to like introduce some other characters that were going to show up later on. All really good stuff, but when they actually got back to the games, they went to like Super Adventure Rockman. I was like, what? Who the fuck knows this game? Uh, and that was like a really cool storyline, and it kind of like sets up part of like Mega Man 3. But it's basically the idea is that Wily finds this like ancient alien robot god in South America, and he wakes him up and he's like, you're gonna help me take over the world, and it's like, no, I have no reason to do that. And then it just turns off all electronics globally, and there's like this whole, it's very like stressful kind of like risk of the world is might fall into like the apocalypse because all like electricity doesn't work, and there's like some really, I think like Roll almost like dies because they don't have like any
Oh
energy.
my.
And there's like scenes of like, I think in the I think they omitted it in the comic. You kind of get like an idea for how much havoc is being wreaked, but I think in like the game there's just straight up scenes of like cruise ships sinking and like planes falling out of the sky, and like Keiji Inafune is apologizing and he's like, we never should have let this be in a Mega Man game.
Oh my god.
It's like it's really funny, but that's like that's the most. Why did we get on this topic? I feel like you asked me something and I'm like, I just want to talk about the Mega Man Archie comic.
I don't care. I like getting lost in conversation with you.
Right. I think the reason it was on my mind is because there was a story from like literally yesterday about did you know there's going to be, at least right now, a Mega Man live action movie?
No way.
And it's gonna be on Netflix.
No, I don't believe that.
It was a few like 2020, I think. This production studio had like a meeting with Capcom or something, and it was like, it's called like a first look or something like that meeting, or basically like they have the rights to take like the first crack at adapting a property, and one of them was Mega Man, and they like updated their website, and at the bottom it was like, I actually literally, like, I think I have it up. Hang on. It was on, yeah, because it's from like Rockman Corner, which is like pretty reliable like Mega Man news source. So yeah, the first look deal with Netflix, which meant that they're called Churnin Entertainment. They got me churning. So they updated their website that basically just says features in the works include, and the first thing is an adaptation of Capcom's Mega Man. By like the production, it's the production company's website. So like, I guess it's happening. I have no idea. It's like, why?
That sounds like a terrible idea.
It sounds,
but
yeah.
I hope they can prove us wrong. I hope they can actually make a Mega Man movie that's actually good.
I hope.
Would you even watch it?
I feel like I kind of have to. I feel like I don't know. Like, it's personal now.
That would be an interesting video.
I feel like, and I will make a video about it. Like, I've already made up. I literally last night I read it and I'm like, this is gonna come out. I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely gonna feel passionate enough. In the future, I can foresee wanting to make a video about it.
I could definitely see that in my sub box, seeing a video from you.
Yeah,
about that.
A bit of a. I'm like, I know that this is like a bit. I don't do like movie reviews. Bear with me. Like, I can see the intro. Because I remember. Did you ever watch the Death Note live action?
Oh God. I watched like the first 5 minutes and then I turned it off.
Because I really like the anime.
Love the anime.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. And I watched the whole thing, and it was generally underwhelming, and it was underwhelming and punctuated by moments of, wow, my mouth is open with how terrible that was. I was like, okay, it basically captured nothing that was cool about the original show. It kind of like, I feel like, did you hear about the Cowboy Bebop debacle? The Bebop debacle?
The Bebop debacle?
Yeah, like the live action Bebop on Netflix.
Did not hear about this.
Oh yeah, so they made. Well, did you hear about the live action Cowboy Bebop series?
Yeah, I heard there was supposed to be one.
Yeah, so it came out a few weeks ago actually, and for all intents and purposes, it kind of like sucks, like really bad. And I have actually the same friend who I got into Jojo, Xavier. He's a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, like the original anime. Mm-hmm. And I remember like texting him, and he was like, yeah, so the new live action came out and I'm watching it. I'm like, oh yeah, so like, what do you think about it? And he goes, well, I'm only on like episode 3, and it was like 10 episodes. It's like, well, I'm only on episode 3 and it's all right. Like, it's okay. Like, they changed a few things, like a few order of events and some characters backstory stuff, but it could be fine. Like, it could work out. And then like the next day, I spent like the next day just like working like all day on a video, and once I was done, I laid down. I was like, oh yeah, Xavier sent me a message, and the first line was, so I finished the Cowboy Bebop live action. It fucking sucked. I was like, what happened? What happened between like between episode 3 and episode 10? and he wrote me just like several gigantic paragraphs about how basically it seemed like they were like, there's no point in adapting Cowboy Bebop to live action. Like, you don't gain anything in translation.
I was just about to say, what
Yeah.
is even the point of doing
Yeah. So they had to like change things to justify it. But the things that they changed were like arbitrary and like, hey, it's different. But it like detracts from the original.
Definitely.
And there was a bunch of weird. I've seen clips out of context that I don't know how they would make sense in context or not be awful. Like, there's like a character. So there's one character, I don't know his name, but he's a black guy, and he's talking to this woman, and I shit you not. So it's basically she's trying to convince him to do something, and he says this line like, "That sounds like blackmail," and she says, "Well, you are black and you are a male."
Oh my god.
And I'm like, this is not real. This is a joke, and it's real.
No.
Like, why is this here?
Was it in English or was it?
Oh yeah, it was in English. It was all English. It was an English production.
No way.
I think the guy, the
Who
main
in the
character,
right mind?
I think Spike is played by an Asian actor.
Okay.
But everything is in English. And yeah, there was something like really. Oh yeah, specifically what he was ranting to me about was that like his favorite character from the original anime was called Gren. And Gren's whole deal was that they were like they were a male who was experimented on to basically get forceful gender reassignment surgery. And they have this whole like arc about like their identity and all that. And then in the show, they were like, oh, Gren is non-binary. There's nothing else to their character. That's the whole, and it's like missing the point so hard. Like, it's fine if you want to have like a non-binary character or whatever, but it's like you're literally like erasing this whole like emotional thing about like gender identity, and it's being like, that's the thing, you know? And he was like so upset about that. Yeah, I think what the most obnoxious thing is that it's like the implication that you get from adapting something into live action. Right, like
yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, like the original medium is inferior in some way.
It's like they're like, okay, now that we're making a live action, like this is the upper echelon of production, and it's like, no, it's fucking not. They're both different mediums that should be used for different reasons, and you don't have to adapt everything into a movie, like, or like a live action TV show. I would have rather like them just make another anime about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. It might I think you say that and I'm like, yeah, and then I think about like Fooly Cooly. Did you watch?
I've watched the first season, didn't watch the later season.
Of like the original like 6-episode one?
Yes.
Yeah, so they made the sequel like 20 years later or some shit.
Yeah.
Way later. And they made it like 2 series, like progressive and alternative. And I remember like I really like Fooly Cooly. It actually introduced me. Do you know like the soundtrack of that show? It's basically just an album by this Japanese like alt rock band called The Pillows. And I love The Pillows. So I have like a pretty strong connection to that show. And when you go and like read interviews and stuff about like how it was produced, it's like I think they were actually like asked, the director was asked if he would like do a sequel or do something more with it, and he was like, no, I can never really go back to Fooly Cooly because it was such a particular time in my life, and it was just like an expression of like how I was feeling and what I was thinking about, and just this like shot of like just like scatter shot of my like thoughts, and so I can't go back to it. And then it kind of,
That's what it felt like.
yeah, and then it kind of sounds like when you listen to the behind the scenes of like the sequel seasons, because first he is not involved in the sequels,
I would imagine.
and it's like this lady from like Toonami or something, and she's just like, we had a lot of meetings, and it sounds like they basically just badgered him until he was like, fucking fine, take it. I don't care, I've moved on. And the I only watched literally like one episode of both of them, and I was like, alternative I remember being like okay, and then progressive was incredibly disappointing because I was like, it's just the same show. It's almost beat for beat like the first episode of the original, and it's like, why?
Really?
Yeah, like I guess it can be handled. Like having a sequel of in the original medium is more preferable, but it can always be handled poorly.
Yes.
Maybe it's like a very specific example. Is there any property? Because like, I think about like, okay, what if we flip it on its head, and instead of adapting the anime into a live action, what if we adapted like a live action series into an anime? Like, how would that turn out?
Oh. The Matrix.
That's oh yeah, you're right. The Animatrix.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
It's
see?
not really like turning it into turning
yeah.
that movie. It's just expanding the universe, but in a different medium.
Yeah.
Which I think is the right way to do it.
That's fair. That's a totally fair way if you're gonna like change mediums.
Yes. It shouldn't be the exact same fucking show or like the exact same show with little arbitrary details changed.
Yeah.
It should be its own thing that works in that medium.
Yeah, I was thinking about like one of the big the video that I'm working on right now is about like one of the topics that comes up is this idea that of like making a creative product that could only ever be, or that like a medium comes into its own when things are made that could only ever be that. Like, do you know the manga Berserk?
I know of it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite manga of all time, and it's had like a very shaky history with like adaptations. Like the original 97 anime is okay, like it's pretty good. And then the movies are also okay, and then like the 2016-17 anime is like horrible. Like it's horrible. And I think one of the, even if if it's like like a pretty good adaptation, like the anime and the movies, or the first anime and the movies, Berserk has these like, there's moments in Berserk that you're like, this could the full like impact of this can only be related in a manga. It can only be done through like still illustration, because there's just like these moments where it's just like this huge impact, but it's delivered in this like still frame, and you're kind of allowed to just sort of linger in it and just sort of like absorb the emotions of what's going on and like what the characters are feeling. And it's very like still, and that's like a real, in my opinion, I think that like kind of stillness and just being able to stay on the page and just sort of like think about it is really like key to part of what makes like Berserk so like impactful for a lot of people. And when you adapt that into like, okay, well, time is moving forward because that's just how the medium works, like a quantum level. You kind of like lose some of that.
Definitely.
Is there like, have you ever been like really burned by an adaptation?
Burned?
Yeah.
Like I hated it.
Yeah, you really liked it, and then you watch something and you're like, this sucks. Why did they do it? Like Dragon Ball Evolution.
Right.
Something like that.
Oh man. I mean, all of them, really. I feel like all of them are worthless piles of trash that don't need to exist.
You don't think there's a single good like adaptation into a different medium?
Oh, I mean, I I think there are some like a lot of books that get turned into
Right.
movies
Yeah.
and
I was
TV
just. Yeah.
shows that are actually quite good. But those are the only things I can think of, like Lord of the Rings, Game
Yeah.
of Thrones, at least the first four seasons, um, stuff like that.
I'm. So,
What?
you brought up Game of Thrones, and my mind like linked back to the conversation we had about names, and I started thinking about how like there's people who named their kids like Daenerys
Right.
before season 8.
Correct.
Like, what are you supposed to do? That's like that 4chan post that's like, be born, have one shot at life. Parents name me fucking Thurman. Like, what am I supposed to do? Be called Daenerys. Everyone's gonna know.
Yeah. I guess they gotta make the best of it.
Yeah, just hide, hide from it.
Or maybe just don't watch the last season.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how fast people like Game of Thrones was so huge when it was airing.
Yes. I
And then in the
remember.
span of like a month, it was like memory hold. Like people were like, that never happened. Even the good parts. It just left culture. It was insane. I never watched it, so I felt kind of like smug. I was like, haha, I knew. I knew.
Yeah, must be nice.
Yeah, I did. Were you like really into Game of Thrones?
Um, Not super into it. Like I've never read the books.
Mm,
I just appreciated the show for what it was.
yeah. But you were as
I had a good
disappointed.
time with it.
Okay.
I was sorely disappointed, and the ending was vomit inducing, but it's like there's plenty of other good shows out there.
Yeah.
I don't need just Game of Thrones.
They're doing like a Wheel of Time series. You seen that?
Wheel of Time.
Yeah, the book series. Based
Never
off the
heard of
book
it.
series. Do you know?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of
No, I've
those.
never heard of it.
It's Wheel of Time is one of those. It's like 14 books, and they're all like the size of the Bible. It's like,
What?
it's like one of those like fantasy series. It actually went
No
like so
way.
long that the author died, and he left all of his notes to the last book to a guy named Brandon Sanderson, who
Okay.
if you're in like writing circles or anything like that, people love Brandon Sanderson is like the guru of writing amongst like people who are really into it, because he just gives a bunch of like lectures on
Okay.
on like writing stuff. He's good. I actually really like his books, but he looked at the notes and he's like, there's no way this can be one book. And the only way that he could write it was he split it into 3 books. So it was going to be like 12, the 12th and final book, and went up to like 14. It was just too
Wow.
huge. And apparently
Did he
they're
do it
like,
justice?
I never read it. I've never it's one of those like I'm so intimidated by it. I've heard it's great. It's one of those like everyone who's read it is like a super fan. I feel like you have to be to get through that much material.
Mhm.
But like maybe someday. Maybe if like I don't know. Again, I have like the spiteful gene. They are making a series out of it, and I have no idea. I just saw previews for it, like at the my girlfriend and I went to the theater a few times.
Oh, for what?
We saw a couple things. She's the only reason that I watch movies.
Okay.
We went to see Last Night in Soho. She's actually taken me to a couple good. The first one she took me to was the Suicide Squad.
That was funny. One. That was a good movie.
I really liked that movie.
Yes.
And then Last Night in Soho because she's a big Edgar Wright fan. And then what was the? I feel like we saw another one. I can't remember. She's gonna text me about it because she listens to the podcast. Yeah, but I remember seeing like previews for the Wheel of Time, and I was like, I feel like I'm the. Oh, we went to see Ghostbusters.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah, we went to see Nutbusters Afterglow. You can laugh now. you can laugh at my. I'm renowned for my joke.
Nutbuster Afterglow.
Yeah.
It was genius.
Thanks. I put a lot of time into it. Yeah. I had a question actually. I was curious about this.
I was waiting for you to tell me how Ghostbusters was.
Oh, it was okay.
That's why I was quiet the whole time.
Theaters are like I feel like theaters are a bad place for me to watch movies. Because when I'm forced to sit still, I get really restless and antsy. So it's hard for me to like really absorb what I'm watching. Like I remember walking out of like Rise of Skywalker, which is like already an incredibly ADHD movie. It needs like a prescription. I think that's what they mean when they call it like a script doctor. He prescribes your script with some some Ritalin. And I remember walking out and I was like, that was fine. And then I started to like think about it and reflect on it. I'm like, that was not fine. I was just too like bombarded with like flashing lights to like think about anything other than like, oh, we're doing this now. My mind starts wandering. It happens like every time I go to the theater. And so it's like I don't trust my gut opinion when I go to the theater.
You feel like your gut opinion isn't like I guess correct?
I mean,
if it's what you felt, then isn't that
the thing is that I feel like if I had, the difference is that I actually trust my gut instinct a lot. Like I don't think that there's any right or wrong opinion, but it's more about like if I had sat down and watched this at home or by myself or with a very small group, I probably would have had a different opinion of it. But because I watched in this environment where I like couldn't really think, the difference is that like in one I'm being like date raped in the theater because like I can't like fully consent to my opinion because I'm not in the right state of mind.
Oh my god.
I just kind of threw that out there. I'm sorry to anyone listening. This is, and the other, it's like, okay, you know, we warmed up. You know, I there's no substances involved. I'm like, I'll have sex with this opinion. I'm fine with it. And the other one, it's like, I wake up, I come home, I wake up, and I feel sore, and I'm like, fuck, did I see Rise of Skywalker? Shit.
Oh my god. I love the analogy.
Thank you. I'm a poet. I have a way with words, but that's the difference. Like generally, I trust. Like if I remember the first time I watched Death Note. Speaking of, I had like a very specific experience with this where I came away and I was like, I don't know how to feel about that. Like I was very neutral, and then the more that I thought about it, and I was able to kind of like digest it, I was like, I didn't like that at all, and my distaste actually grew as I got further away from it.
Yeah, that's That's kind of how I felt about Game of Thrones. Like watching it, you're like hit with all of these like exciting visuals and flashing lights,
Yeah.
like you were saying. But then once it ends and the credits start rolling, you're like, wait, that can't be it. And then you start to think about it, and the more you think about it, the more you hate it, and
Yeah.
like you start to like socialize with other people to see if you can
Yeah,
like make your
exactly.
way, like guide you into like what is the right answer. Like, am I supposed to like this?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to. Do you feel okay? I have this thing. If I like something, I'll just tell people that I like it. I don't have
Hmm.
any qualms about liking whatever. If I dislike something and I want to talk about it to someone, I'll be like, "Hey, did you like hear that song?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What did you think about it?"
Yeah,
I'll like
I
ask their opinion first, and it's not because I'm
yes.
like, the reason is that I've had these experiences where I feel like even if I don't have that much, like that strong of an argument, I'll
Hmm.
assert my argument really strongly, and I've had these experiences where I feel like I've made someone dislike something that they liked, and that
I
makes me
felt
feel
like I've
really
done the same
bad.
thing.
Sorry.
I felt like I've done the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, you can like see it. Where literally remember
Yes.
my mom used to read all these like murder mystery novels, and she would like read all of them, and they were like these big thick softcover volumes. And I just remember reading like a few pages of one time, and I was like, that kind of sucks. And I was like 11, right? I was like 10 or 11, and then afterwards, I was like a little while later, like time had passed, and I was like, hey mom, you don't like read that many of those like books by that one author, and she's like, yeah, remember that time that you told me that like you didn't like it? I was like, yeah. And she's like, I couldn't like look at it the same way. Like I couldn't enjoy it anymore. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no. Like I don't want
I
to.
wonder
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like if if it's we're actually pointing something out that makes them dislike it, or if it's like a social thing, like a biological
That's
social
yeah. I think
mechanism that makes us dislike something when we know that the mass majority of people dislike it, or like or the opinion of someone we care about
yeah.
dislikes it that makes us actually dislike it.
Yeah,
That's very curious.
that's what I'm afraid of. Like I'm scared because I know like sometimes I could just feel like you. I'm sure you have friends who are like just not super assertive with their opinions or whatever. Like when they argue something, and that's not because
Mhm.
it's not really. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like that's just how they are. That's just like consume
Right.
and media and all that. I'm very like when I start up a game, I spend like 5 minutes in the options menu, and I'm
Mhm.
like, why can't I rebind to this key? What the
Yeah.
fuck?
I
It
get that
like
a lot.
affects my opinion, and so like I'm very like thorough whenever I like go through like any kind of entertainment or media, and so I feel like I don't. I'm worried that they think like, oh well, Taigen, he's like a scholar. It's like no, I'm just more anal. It's not like better.
Yes.
I'm
Same
not like
way.
that much smarter. uh, I just like I can come up with like more justifications for why I like or dislike something. And I don't want to like make someone not like that's never my goal. That feels bad because it feels like I've lessened. If it's something like really trivial, I don't want to do that because I feel like I've just lessened. Like there's no reason to lessen the amount of like joy in
Yeah,
the
it's more
world.
of trying to gain understanding, like why they like it and why you dislike it, and like
Yeah,
trying to find some common ground on what is good and what is not about
yeah.
that, whatever it is you're talking about.
And a lot of times it's like it just kind of comes down to like personal preference. Like when you just plumb your opinions and like why do I think that? And it just comes down to like, well, this thing really bothers you. It really just does. I don't know. It just didn't really bother me.
Hmm.
I feel like I've run into that a lot with it because I like Bleach.
Oh, do you?
I do. I can admit that it has a lot of flaws, but I like it overall.
Okay.
And it's like the one shonen that people just hate on. Like, it's every time it comes up. And I talk to my friends who've never seen it or read it. And they're like, that show, doesn't that show suck? And I'm like a little bit, but like, no, there's like cool things in it. And I have to like justify. And when you start like talking to people about it, what you realize is just like, okay, that thing bothers you more than it does me. And we can both admit that it's like a flaw of the writing or whatever. But I don't know. There's just things, I don't know. It's cool. I'm an edgelord.
Same.
I like edgelord stuff. You consider yourself an edgelord?
I think a lot of people do.
Are you you consider yourself a Sigma male?
A Sigma male?
Yeah.
No, I don't consider myself a Sigma male.
That's
I would like to strive to be, though.
I like the idea of like Sigma male influencers, because it's kind of oxymoronic. Because like the entire idea is that you're like a lone wolf, but I'm gonna learn how to be a lone wolf from this guy with a YouTube channel. When you said that like a lot of people consider themselves edgelords, that's what I thought of. Like 20 people standing in a group in like trench coats and sunglasses. Like, yeah, we're different. It's like, no, you're just over there. The idea, so that actually we kind of wrapped around to this question that was on my mind about like subjective taste and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I had this kind of question, and we're going to talk about video games finally. So like,
your video game podcast, we're finally going to talk about video games.
This is a Cellar podcast. It's not a gaming podcast.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So there's a subreddit. It's called Patient Gamers, or Patient Gaming.
Okay.
I gotta forget. And basically, the idea behind patient gaming is you wait a year after release to play a game. So the idea is like you get to go into the game without sort of like the
hype.
Yeah, the hype, without like the conversation surrounding it, and you just kind of go into it and look at it as its own thing, removed from other factors. And then also it's like tends to be like on sale, or it has a price reduction, or there's like a bundle with the DLC or whatever. And by a full year or more, you can expect there to be like major patches to like fix stuff if it came out buggy, because that's just the reality of modern gaming.
That's what I'm doing with Cyberpunk right now.
Oh, okay. I'm curious. Well, I want to ask about that. I will put a pin in that. Okay. So there was this post on Patient Gamers, and it was basically this guy who was playing GTA 5 for the first time.
Okay.
And he didn't really have that much experience. I think it was like his first GTA game, and he like hated it. He hated it.
Oh,
and
shit.
He said he literally couldn't get through the first 30 minutes because he couldn't stand the way it just like felt to like control on like a fundamental.
It is kind of clunky.
Yeah, and
I feel that.
I think there were like some other complaints he had, but he was like, I literally just had to put it down after 30 minutes. And the discussion underneath was really interesting, because people started talking about like, you know, people who were big fans of the game were like, well, in 30 minutes, like you're barely out of the like tutorial, if even, and the game has like there's so much more to it, and you just had to like give it a chance. And there's other people saying like, well, no, you can put it down whenever you'd like. So it kind of got me thinking about like, how how quickly can you just decide that you don't want to play a game? Like, or how much of a chance should you give a game?
Sometimes there's a threshold, because Dark Souls is one of my favorite series of all time.
Oh, okay.
But when I first picked up Dark Souls, I fucking hated it.
Oh, yeah.
I hated it so fucking much. And I gave up on it like 4 different times. Mm-hmm. And it took me like 13 hours before I actually started enjoying the game. And that is significant. Like, to spend 13 hours to dedicate yourself to a game, that's a lot to ask for. But I did that, And like I said, it's one of my favorite series of all time. I fucking love every Dark Souls, even Dark Souls 2. Uh, Amazing games.
Yeah.
But yeah, for every game is different. Like Doom Eternal, I picked that up and I loved it immediately.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, 13 hours, 4 different occasions.
Was it?
It's
What made you go back to it? Like you were just like frustrated you couldn't.
people. It wasn't. It didn't come from me because I didn't want
Mm.
to touch it ever again. I hid it in my
Oh.
Steam games list
Oh
and
wow.
kept it that way.
You hit it?
But yeah,
You can hide
You know,
games?
you can hide
Are you
games. You right click
serious?
on it. You right click on a game and you click manage, hide this
Oh my
game.
god, I've never even noticed that. I've never done
Yeah,
that.
just so you don't have to look at it.
That's
So
hilarious.
it doesn't bother you.
You can
'Cause
hide it
you've
for,
got
I
all
think it's
these-
more so you can hide your porn games from your friends. I think that's
I do it for games I don't want to play. Like,
Okay.
because, you know, on your Steam library, you got games, okay, I need to play all these.
yeah.
But sometimes the game is just so bad you want to hide it. And that's how I felt about Dark Souls. I felt like everyone who played it was an idiot and just liked
Huh.
masochism. And shit on anyone who didn't enjoy like dying infinitely. But
Yeah.
I guess it was like my annoyance with people shitting on me for like, because I posted online. I didn't post like on Reddit, but on like the discussion of Steam,
Yeah.
the discussions page on Dark Souls, I was like, why does anyone like this game? It's so fucking trash. And you know, they never really gave me good arguments. They just insulted me like, for
Yeah.
being bad.
Get
And
good.
I guess that was kind of true because I was bad at the game, and I think anyone who picks it up for the first time is going to be bad at the game.
Yeah, it's
but-
yeah.
If you dedicate yourself to it, it really gets going, and like once you start to learn, it starts to actually get fun.
Yeah. That's funny because that's like the same argument that people have to try to. You followed like the same arc that people follow to get into fighting games.
Really?
Because when you pick up a fighting game and you've never really played the genre before, there's so many like obtuse, non-obvious things in it. Like the first fighting game I ever like really tried to learn was Skullgirls.
Same here. Oh my god.
Oh, seriously? Yeah, it's the one
Yes.
everyone knows. It's the poverty game. And like when you start out, you're like, why the fuck am I even being hit? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then like some people get like frustrated and they put it down. And then I don't know why I kept I guess I just like hard games. That's like I like bullet hell games. I like Toho and stuff.
I do too.
And so I don't know, I just kind of stuck with it and I really tried to like learn. And I remember like literally the moment that I learned about the difference between high-low blocking in like the tutorial, I was like, "Oh shit." And I feel like that's the same moment as you like first kind of understand the way that like the combat sort of dance works in Dark Souls.
Yes.
You're like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, wait, what?" And now you want to go like experiment and you're like, "Wait, so if I fight this enemy, oh, I can like figure it out." And with like fighting games, it's like, okay, so I can do like a string into like a special and it leaves me plus, and then okay, I can call an assist. And you start like going crazy. But the whole period before you start learning is like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just getting beat up for like minutes straight,
Yeah.
and I can't do anything.
There's every like everything in media has like its threshold of like what you need to understand before you start enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because that also made me start thinking about fuck, I'm having a brain fart. Sorry. God, okay, talk about what you were talking about. Retrace my steps.
Okay, so I was like fighting games. You get into it, and there's just all this really obtuse information that's not obvious. Sometimes, like even like visually, and all these like mechanics, and when you get into it.
Oh yeah. And
Okay, I'll
was
finish.
just gonna.
I'll finish
Yeah,
this
please.
real quick. Once you like understand how everything fits together, because so many mechanics and systems carry over between games, you're like, oh, it's like all you understand this like branching pathway of decisions, and you can apply that to like almost every, at least like traditional like 2D fighter. Like if you learn one, you can really easily pick it up, and it just like starts this momentum. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that applies to like just the language of video games in general, because someone who's never picked up a video game doesn't even understand how to like look forward. Like they'll be like looking up, pointing their gun at the sky. You're like,
that's called like,
it's so funny.
It's called games literacy.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that, about like, it's because I've just grown up with these conventions, and I kind of think about like, if I was to give my dad a controller, especially like a PlayStation controller where it's just like mystic runes on the face buttons, it's like so alien. You're like, there's a knob,
mystic runes.
There's like these like buttons, and there's these circle buttons, and then there's like a cross thing. And you're like, what the fuck does any of this do? But I can immediately just pick it up, and I not just know like what the things do, but also know like, okay, the left analog stick is going to be for movement, and the right's going to be for the camera.
Yes.
And if not, if that's not the controls, I'll try like, oh, can I rotate it with the shoulder buttons or maybe the D-pad, and like X on a. Think about this. Like think about the X button. On PlayStation, the X button. Okay. On Xbox, the X button is not like a menu function in most games. It's the A button. And it's on the left. The X button's on the left. When you go to PlayStation, the X button's on the bottom. And it means like confirm.
Yes.
Unless you're in Japan, in which case confirm is on circle. For some reason.
Which is cancel in
United Which is cancel States. In everywhere else.
Yeah.
That's and then so you go to like a Nintendo console, and like X is not. X is the same as on like Xbox, but then Nintendo also like flips where B and A are compared to Xbox. Yeah. And you have to like understand this like web this like of like history of just like we did it because like they did it here, and it just kind of makes sense if you've played these other games. But if you pick it up, like my dad would have no fucking idea how to like select something on a menu, like the most basic thing. And then I kind of think back to like when like film was first being invented, and they had, if you watch like really old movies, they'll have these like transitions that are very almost like cartoonish. Oh yeah. It'll be like the wheel of like characters drive from one location to another, and it'll show like the wheel of the car like skidding past the screen. And the reason they had to do that was because when they first just started like how we would cut a scene today, and it's just like, we're here and now we're here, and people watched that and they were like, what just happened? Where are we? Is this a different time? Is this the same place? What the fuck happened? Like they were just like disoriented, and they had to basically like through these like filmmaking techniques like train the audience in like film literacy to understand. Yes. Like, oh, it's a different time of day or something like that when we cut between shots, because it's not just like a play where you see the transitions very like literally.
Yes, like the curtain falls and then things moving, lights are changing.
Yeah, which people are just used to, and like games are absolutely fall to that. Maybe even like more so because you just have these like weird contraptions with all these different like things that were just like, you look at the NES controller and it's so simple, and then you just kind of slowly start building up to like I don't know what the Wii U gamepad was supposed to be. It's like what is this?
I don't know. Never played it.
And yeah, it's funny because it's one of those things that's like you don't really do anything about it. You just wait for people to grow up with it. And like, in 20 years, it's not going to be a problem for most people. They're just going to kind of know.
Yeah.
Unless you don't play. Have you ever seen, do you know the YouTuber Rasputin?
I don't think so.
Or Rasputin, or I don't know how it's like Razbutin or something. He does he has this series of videos called like what games are like for someone who doesn't play games.
Oh, I've seen that video.
Yeah,
Yes.
he has a couple with them where it's like he's showing his wife who like doesn't play video games at all or never
And
really
she played
did.
Hollow Knight.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, so like how does someone who has no knowledge of games or conventions or literacy in the medium respond to this stuff? She was just super confused. Like she didn't know how to do like basic stuff, and that's like perfectly understandable. And then I remember he did one. He did a follow up specifically about RPGs, and the first one he had her play was Undertale, and I was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, what the heck?
You need so much like context to understand. So she was just walking around like, "I'm just fucking like talking to frogs. I don't get it. Like, what's going on?" But if you know about like RPGs and conventions and you like understand the context, you're like, "Oh, this is clever. This is like subverting things." She's like, what's going on? I don't even understand this.
Yeah, it's like a layer of understanding she would have to understand beforehand.
Yeah.
To even get what is, yeah.
Or it's like almost like something from a different culture. You just have to know how this culture handles like this type of thing.
Yeah.
Or it makes zero sense. I feel like that with... Sorry, yeah?
I was going to ask if you've ever played Portal.
That's a complicated, actually. So, I was like super... I have, but I haven't. So, like, when I was a kid, I got really into watching videos about Portal on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was really into the concept of the game, but I didn't have like a computer or a console that could play it.
Ah, okay.
And then later, they had like a demo of Portal on Steam that my computer could barely run that I played, but I didn't have any money. And then later, I think I got like one of my parents bought me Portal 2 as a Christmas gift. And I couldn't run it because it would just crash my computer. And it's funny because I look at my Steam library and I realize that like I had Steam at that time. And obviously you got to play it through Steam. And so it was just added to my library and it's just been sitting there since like 2012. And I've never installed it to like play it.
Oh my god.
It's weird because as a kid I would just like, with no access to the game, I would do that. I would do the thing. I would just watch Let's Plays of it. I've watched like 5 Let's Plays of Portal 2.
Wow.
So I feel like I just know what the game is. And it's almost like if I went back, it would be... I'm sure stuff would come back to me, but it's almost like this weird... Like I've experienced it, but I've never played it.
Right.
And it's really odd. Like I have this very weird relationship to... like Portal.
I know how you feel because that's how I was with BioShock.
Really?
I had never played it, but only watched it, and I watched it profusely. Like you said, like 3 or 4 Let's Plays I've seen. Like I knew the game like the back of my hand, and then when I actually played it, it was like I had already played it. Like it felt right. Like, I mean, it was more fun than just watching it.
Yeah. It felt right.
Anyways. Yeah, it felt right. Like I knew what like plasmids were and everything.
Oh yeah, you had the knowledge.
Yeah, I knew what everything did, and it just felt good to actually do it myself rather than watch someone else do it. But I asked if you played Portal because I think Valve specifically has a genius way of teaching game literacy.
Oh yeah?
And because they start you off very simple, very small, and it's not obnoxious like mobile games. Like they'll like...
We're going to dark out 80% of the screen. If you
like, tap for here. Real. Like, exactly, yeah. Tap here, tap here, tap here, and then they'll give you like entire paragraphs worth of information.
Yeah.
And you can't even like play until you've done an hour of like the tapping where they tell you to tap. Whereas Valve, they like let you experience it organically, and they start very small. Like like move forward, they'll
Yeah.
like do like they'll have it part of the story world, like
step on the pressure plate or something.
exactly, yeah, shit like that. And that I'm now gonna segue into Half-Life Alyx.
Oh.
Have you ever played a VR game?
So the one experience I've had with VR is when one of my friends asked me to volunteer with him at a Minecraft convention. And we went, and I was like really sick the first day, so I came the second day when I was feeling a little better but still like wearing off from the sickness. And the one of the like organizers, we got our shirts. I still have my shirt from it. It was like an unofficial community convention, and she was like, my friend was like, okay, we're gonna try to get the merchandise booth because it's really easy and it's fun and we can just hang out, and we don't want to get the VR section. We don't want to get it because it's a nightmare and you've got to help kids understand VR. And like fix stuff for them. I'm like, okay, cool. And then she's like touring us around and kind of like delegating us to the different booths and like areas. And she goes like, hey, Mason, who's my friend, you can do like VR because you did the merch booth yesterday. And he's like, all right, I'm doing it with Taigen then. And I was like, don't pull me in. So I spent like an entire day basically troubleshooting buggy Microsoft VR for kids to play Minecraft and wiping it down afterwards, like after every session. And it was exhausting. That's my one experience. I was like, the parent would like call me over and be like, oh, there's a problem. And I would be putting on the headset and I was just like acting like I knew what I was doing and I'd never used VR before.
Oh my
My first experience with the technology was literally like, yeah, I can like get the thing to work. That's my VR experience.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, but
you should come over and try my Index. It's a lot more fun without all of that
the stress,
all the shit you were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll fly over.
All I wanted to say was that
right, yeah.
I have tried teaching my mom video games for the entirety I've been alive, and she has never been be able to understand game literacy.
Yeah.
Until she put on my Index.
Really?
And she put the controllers in her hand. It was so intuitive for her. Like she was.
Really?
So I put her on Half-Life Alyx.
Okay.
And this old lady who I saw couldn't even handle Mario. Is juggling guns and shooting aliens. And I was like, holy shit. Like and I think with VR specifically, it's a lot easier for people to start understand game literacy because it's a lot more like you're not pressing a symbol. You're like squeezing your hand. So I thought that was super interesting.
I never thought about it in that way. But that's really interesting actually. And it was how are the controllers, what are the Index controllers like? I'm not super familiar
so
with
there's I think 2 triggers on like where like your, R1, R2 would be. L1, L2. They got like joysticks on the thumbs. And then the rest of your fingers are like they're haptic. So like in game, all you have to do is squeeze your hand and squeeze your hand in the game.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen like the individual fingers move. I didn't realize it was like that. Okay.
And there's a few more buttons next to the joystick, but those are like for very specific stuff that you don't have to do. Like in Half-Life Alyx, you can reload by literally like squeezing the gun together like how you would actually reload a gun in real life. And so that's how my mom would do it. Like she was reloading this gun like it was real. And it was so amazing to watch.
That's crazy. And she like enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, she had a great time, and she wants to like come back to my house and try it again and finish the game.
That's really cute.
Which is it's awesome. And so it goes to show anyone can enjoy video games. They just need to understand a little bit of that game literacy.
Yeah, I think that's Yeah,
They need to pass that threshold.
Yeah, the she had just put down games for good.
Yes.
She wouldn't have had like a cool experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have that with like specific genres.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it a few times, but I've had this like literally happen twice before where my first exposure to a genre was like not good, and it turned me off until I gave it like another shot, and I ended up really enjoying it. And it happened with JRPGs and first person shooters. So like the first JRPG I ever played was like Pokemon Diamond when I was a kid, and I didn't really like it. And
same.
Oh really? Okay. I feel like
yeah.
I always feel like the weird one for not liking Pokemon.
I hate Pokemon, but
and
that's another conversation.
Okay, and then
go on.
I think later on I tried like Emerald because I always liked the designs from that generation, and I just like same thing, like I couldn't get into it, or I just like hit a wall and I lost interest. And then randomly, like one morning during like my freshman year of high school, I woke up like 4 hours early, and I just had my laptop out, and I was like, I really feel like playing a game. What do I feel like playing? I feel like playing like a Final Fantasy game. I'd never played a Final Fantasy before.
Oh, wow.
For some reason, I just had the inkling. I had the urge. And I legally acquired a copy of Final Fantasy VI Advance, the GBA port. And I was fucking immediately hooked. And that's like one of my favorite games now. And I was like, oh, it wasn't that I don't like JRPGs. Because that was my thing. I was like, I don't like JRPGs. I don't like the combat. I don't like this or that. And I was like, oh, that wasn't really the sticking point. The sticking point is that, like, the things that Pokemon does are not things that I enjoy about the genre. Like, I love... mainly it was like story. It was like 6 has one of my favorite just stories in any game ever.
Final Fantasy 6?
Yeah.
Amazing story.
Have you played it?
That's the one with the girl with the cyan hair. I forgot her name.
Yeah, Terra.
Yeah, Terra, and the clown guy who's the bad guy. Kefka, yes. That one is so badass.
It's such a good game, and it always gets overshadowed by 7, unfortunately. But I think that they're like
I know
both.
that is very unfortunate.
Yeah, because
I think 7 is trash compared to 6. Sorry.
You do? Okay, I haven't played through all of 7, but I think definitely like 6 is so... It's got so much just good stuff. I could gush about it for hours.
Yes.
And
definitely.
Like plot wise, all the mechanics, like how many cool characters there are, all these like just so much like just like magical stuff about it. And it was like it just completely opened my eyes to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like seek out what other games have stuff like this, like the music, the story, the characters, maybe like a cool gameplay hook. So like I played like Breath of Fire. I tried out like Phantasy Star. I ended up trying like Persona 3, and that's like one of my other favorite games. And like now I'm playing Shin Megami Tensei SMT4, and I'm really loving it. And it's like, wow, if I had just stopped at like, oh, I didn't like Pokemon, I don't like JRPGs, I would have never had like all of these like games that had this huge impact on me. And then I had the same thing with FPSs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the first... Because I'd never been into... So my mom, being a hippie, hated anything with firearms. So, like, anything violent was just not allowed in the house.
Yeah.
And so I never had any exposure to FPS games growing up. And once I was, like, older, like, when I was in, like, high school, I just figured... I was like, let me just try one out, at least. And I went with, like, the low risk option, and I just downloaded like Counter-Strike because it's free. It's whatever. I can just download it from Steam. And I really did not feel it. I was like, I played it for like 2 hours. I think I can go look right now Counter.
1.6 hours played.
2.3 hours. I played for like 2.3 hours. I did like some bot games. I did some like real lobbies. And then I remember like thinking like, okay, I'm good for the day. And then I closed it out and I thought, I kind of sat there for a second and I was like, realistically, am I ever going to open this game again? And I thought, no. And then I uninstalled it. And that was just my like thing. I was like, all right, I guess I'm just not into first person shooters. It's just not appealing to me. And then I saw like a let's play of Doom Eternal, and I was like, that's cool.
Go.
That actually looks really cool. And there was like a sale, and they had like all of the, you could get like a bundle of like all the classic Doom games for like $5.
I remember that sale.
Yeah, and then so I got like all of them, and I played Doom, and it was like a religious experience for me. I literally remember the first time, like, I got the shotgun, and I like turned a corner and like blasted an imp, and I remember the feeling of like, oh my god, it was like crack. It was like,
oh my god, yes.
And I just fucking ran through that. I ran through Doom 2. I ran through Doom 64. I did like the master levels for Doom 2, which kind of sucked.
Wow.
And I did like what I've played every classic Doom. I have played and completed every classic Doom on Ultraviolence, including like TNT and Plutonia. TNT was the last one I did because I'd always heard it was a slog, like it is. But like, yeah, that was like, oh shit. And then that led me to like other games in the genre, like Blood, which again is one of my favorite games of all time. And Dusk, which is another, because that was like right around, I think like the new Doom games really like revived interest in like movement shooters or just like faster FPS games.
Yes.
And so now there's like this big retro FPS revival, and I've just played a fuck ton of them. And they're so good. I'm so glad that I've experienced that. And it wouldn't have happened if I'd just been like, Counter-Strike, it's too slow. Because that was my thing. I was like, oh, Counter-Strike compared to Doom. It's like, what I find fun is like the movement and the shooting and the very like visceral, just the feeling of the pace of the combat.
Yeah.
And Counter-Strike is much more like, it's methodical and it's team-based. And it's just, it's slower, and the pace was not right for me. I think about games. I have this kind of theory that like I feel like games are a lot closer as an art form to music than like movies.
I agree.
Oh, thank you.
I fucking love video games.
Yeah, I feel like when you talk to people about their favorite games, it's a lot like when you talk to them about like their favorite music. It's like, why do you love this album so much? It's part of it is like they'll talk about the album itself, but it'll be like, yeah, I was listening to it at this one specific time in my life, and it's just like really ingrained into me because of that. And it's like really emotionally close to my heart for that reason. And I feel like whenever you talk to people about like their favorite games, it's a really similar thing. Like, I have this like whole exterior experience that was outside of like, oh, I went to a theater and I watched it. It's like it connects to a lot of other things. Maybe I might be like overgeneralizing, and like people have the same thing with other mediums, but I don't know. Does that like sound correct to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think even if a game is in a similar medium, it doesn't mean you're gonna hate it or love it. Like, you have to actually play it to understand what it is.
Yeah, it's I made like a whole video about like, I used to do a lot more like I have them grouped under rants just because I didn't know what else to call them. of just me talking to the camera, and I kind of made like a, pardon me, oh, the bingo card. I forgot about that. I'm trying to put together a bingo card of things on the podcast, and one of them is me burping every episode.
You also got to do the.
Oh my god! Fuck you! Stop! Fuck! Do I do that much?
I heard you do it like at least like 3 or 4 times per episode.
That's just my like thinking sound. I don't know why I do it. Fuck. No one's ever pointed that out before. Damn it. Okay. Fuck. Anyway. Yeah, I used to do those videos. I'm in a bad mood now. I'm pissed.
Go to bed. You need a nap.
What would you say is like do you have like a single favorite game of all time?
God, no. I don't think I could pick a single one because the feelings and associations I have with all the games I love are all different and unique to themselves. I don't know, like if you were to ask me like which one I would take to a desert island, I couldn't answer because there's not just one I would want to play for the rest of my life. Like I want all of them for different time periods of my life. Like, you know.
That's exactly how I feel.
Good.
Do you have like a list at least?
Yes, okay. I do. I can read you off all my 5-star games.
Okay, sure.
So in alphabetical order, it is BioShock.
How many are there? I'm curious. How many games have you given 5 stars?
Like 20, but some of them are like in the same series, like all the Half-Life games. So.
Okay, yeah. So feel free.
So yeah, the BioShock series, all of them. There's this unique indie game called Circa Infinity.
I have not heard of that.
Dark Souls. It's great. I gotta show it to you. Dark Souls, Dead Space, Doom, The Elder Scrolls,
Doom
Skyrim.
2016 or
the whole series.
The whole series? Okay.
The whole series.
Yeah.
Every single game. I love all of them.
Nice.
Fallout, except 4 and 76. Those were trash.
Okay.
Fury.
Fury.
You played Fury?
Oh, that sounds so familiar. Hang on.
It's a bullet hell, and it's like a mix of a few different genres.
Oh, I'm getting the fucking movie. Hang on. Game.
F-U-R-I.
F-U-R-I. Oh, F-U-R-I. Oh, I've never seen this, actually.
Amazing game.
Huh.
If you like bullet hells, that is the game. It's also like a little bit like Dark Souls. I'd say more Sekiro, actually.
Wait, why does this
time your attacks?
This looks really familiar. I think I do remember this game. Right. Okay, I remember this game. I remember the art style. That's what tipped it off.
Yes.
Okay.
Great game.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Okay. It did look
Half-Life series. Please play it. It's amazing.
Okay. So Half-Life?
Half-Life, and then obviously Hotline Miami.
Uh-huh.
Portal, The Stanley Parable, Unreal Tournament, The Walking Dead, the first 2 seasons. I haven't played the rest. And then The Witcher, and The Wolf Among Us.
Huh. Okay. It's an interesting.
Yes.
That is like a mix, like a variety.
Yes.
Variety of things.
I've played tons of games. Those are my favorites.
All time. I believe it.
All right, your turn.
I have a list. Hang on, I was trying to think off the top of my head. I made. Shit. Okay. I made like a 9. I had a list of like 9 that I could throw up there. And I'm trying to remember all of them off the top of my head. And I know where I stored it, but I can't. It's
Mega Man 1 through 9.
No, actually. Actually, although there are 2 Mega Man games on there. So let me just start listing them. So Mega
Yes.
Man 6, it's my favorite of the
Okay.
classic series. Mega Man 03, which I think is the best Mega Man game in general.
Hmm.
Uh, Doom. Doom 1 and 2 are kind
Yes.
of like the same game, just like an
Basically.
expansion. So I kind of think of them as the same thing. Blood. Uh, Final Fantasy 6.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Tetris.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, Persona 3, I would put up there. Fuck. It's always like ones that It's always like I think about it and I'm like, oh, of course that game. Uh, that's like the main ones, and then sort of on the ones that are like newer. I would name like Near Automata and Dusk are two games that really really love, but I feel like they're a little too new for me to like
Solidify them in your all
indoctrinate
time.
them into the or
Yeah.
induct them, sorry, and not indoctrinate, induct them into the Hall of Fame in my head. But
Gotcha.
those are two that I really I have to replay Dusk at some point. I want to play it on hard.
I need to play Nier. I have it.
Oh, the which Near
Automata.
Automata. It's I love that game. That game I don't want to I almost like don't want to say anything about it.
Should I play with the controller or
I don't think it
keyboard
matters. I
mouse?
played it on PS4 actually.
Okay.
But I don't think it should matter. I will say, just in case you like don't pick up on this, you play the game a few times
Okay.
to finish it. It's like it has this kind of interesting. It's basically 15 hours of game, and then you finish it, and then you replay it, and it's a little different, and then you replay it again, and the third time you play it, it's basically like another game.
What?
It's very like, oh. I don't want to spoil anything, but
Yeah,
it
that sounds sick.
it's basically like the sequel. The third playthrough
What the fuck?
is basically like the sequel to the first playthrough. And
Holy shit.
it's really, to give you an idea, the third playthrough starts with another credits sequence. Like opening
Wow.
credits sequence.
I wish more games would be more creative in that way, like using the medium to its advantage.
It is a game that I think in particular really like it's like I mean like it's a game, it could only be a game. Like I couldn't see it being
Right.
adapted into any other medium, really. Like it's just too much. The story and the themes are too linked to the gameplay.
I look forward to playing it then.
Yeah, it's a good one, and you don't really have to know. I played it without playing the first Nier, and I didn't feel like I missed anything.
Okay, good. 'Cause
Apparently,
I don't plan on playing the first one.
apparently that's sort of how like Yoko Taro does all of his games. Is they're all sort of like separate stories that like if you play all of them, you can like, oh, I see how this connected and this character shows back up, but it's not integral to know at all. And he just kind of like almost arbitrarily, like I think he started off doing like these series called Drakengard, and Nier, the original game, is a sequel to a like one of the multiple different endings of Drakengard 3. It's really weird. It's like one of the endings that seems like a joke ending. Like this wouldn't be canonical. And then Nier is just like that. It's like to take you 100 years in the future after that. And he's really into that idea. And I think then Automata is also a sequel to one of the endings of the original Nier. And it just kind of whatever he feels like. He's a
Well,
weird
I'm excited
dude.
then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start installing it.
Yeah. It's I think they fixed the PC port.
I hope so.
It was like kind of gunked up for a bit, and I think that they patched it to fix it a little bit. But I think so. I think like relatively recently, actually.
I can't wait.
So hopefully it turns out well. Are you sleepy?
I am getting there.
Okay, it's like 10? Yeah, 10 over there.
10:30. Yep.
Yeah. When do you usually go to sleep?
It varies every single day. I have a weird sleep schedule.
Same. I try to regulate it. It always kind of slips away from me.
Same.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. ZQuil, melatonin. I'm just happy to let it be now.
Mm-hmm. Has the... Why would you try melatonin for sleep? Are you like, it seems like something if you were trying to like get a tan.
That's melanin.
That's the joke. That's the joke. I had to like sleep.
Good joke.
I had to like sleep over with a guy, and or like we were on like a school trip, and he had to take his melatonin, and I just kept calling it melanin. I'm like, Nate, you got to take your melanin. When we wake up, I want you to be like 3 shades darker, okay?
It's a good one. Not as good as Nutbusters After, but almost.
That's
there.
really my magnum opus. I could throw in the towel after Nutbusters Afterglow. Sorry.
Well, Taigen, it has been an honor.
Okay, sure. You want to wrap up? I could literally talk for like
what we were doing.
5 hours.
I probably should. My girlfriend's getting mad at me.
Oh. You're always talking to that person on the computer.
Yep. I am.
Tell her you're talking to another girl.
She knows I'm talking to you.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm good. We have been going for close to 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you would like to promote? I feel like statistically, if you're watching my channel, it's almost like impossible that you haven't heard of your channel. But
I do want to say, please subscribe to the Cellar.
Wow.
And also give a like and a comment because he doesn't get enough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And go look at Max's channel if you have like an hour and a half. And you don't mind being sad. Yeah. Fuck, I wish I had an outro. We talked about this.
Bye.
Bye.